In 1925, a man walked into Paris's most luxurious hotel, sat down with 5 of the city's richest businessmen, and sold them the Eiffel Tower. Not a model, not a replica, the actual, real, 7,300-ton Eiffel Tower. And here's the part that should be impossible. He wasn't lying about who was buying it. He was lying about who was selling it. And by the time anyone figured that out, he was already gone. This isn't fiction. This really happened. Twice. His name was Victor Lustig, though that probably wasn't even his real name. Over his lifetime, he used 45 different aliases. Born in 1890, in a small town that was then part of Austria-Hungary, Victor grew up in a strict household. His father was reportedly a harsh man, and from an early age, Victor learned that charm got you further than honesty ever could. He went to study in Paris, but school never really held his attention. Gambling did. Somewhere along the way, he picked up a habit of speaking 5 languages fluently, and a permanent scar on his face from a jealous boyfriend who didn't appreciate Victor's attention toward his girlfriend. But more than any of that, Victor picked up a skill: reading people, knowing exactly what someone wanted to hear, and saying it at exactly the right moment. By the time the 1920s rolled around, Victor Lustig wasn't just a gambler anymore. He was a professional con man. He'd run scams on transatlantic ocean liners, posing as a Broadway producer looking for investors in shows that didn't exist. He'd swindled wealthy widows. He'd even, depending on which account you believe, managed to con Al Capone himself, and lived to tell the story. But none of that prepared anyone for what he was about to do in Paris. In 1925, Victor was back in Paris, and one morning he picked up a newspaper. Buried in it was an article about the Eiffel Tower. At the time, just over 35 years old, and already falling apart. The city was struggling to pay for the upkeep. The structure needed serious repainting, and the costs were piling up. The article even mentioned something strange, that some Parisians were so tired of paying for it, they actually wanted the tower torn down. Most people would read that and move on. Victor read it and saw an opportunity. He thought, what if the government really was planning to get rid of the tower? What if they wanted to sell it, quietly, before the public found out and caused an uproar? It didn't matter that none of this was true. All that mattered was that it was believable. So Victor set to work. He hired a forger to create fake government stationery, letterhead so convincing it could pass for the real Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. With a partner, he also got a fake access pass to the tower itself. Then he checked into the Hotel de Crillon, one of the most expensive hotels in Paris, the kind of place where powerful men do quiet business. From there, posing as a government official, he sent letters to the top names in the French scrap metal industry, inviting them to a private meeting. 5 of them showed up. Victor introduced himself as the Deputy Director General of the Ministry of Posts and Telegraphs. And then he told them something that should have sounded insane. Because of engineering problems, repair costs, and political issues he couldn't discuss, the French government had decided the Eiffel Tower had to come down. And since this would obviously upset the public, the whole thing had to stay secret until it was finalized. The government, he explained, wanted to sell the tower for scrap, 7,300 tons of iron, to the highest bidder. To make it even more convincing, Victor did something almost absurd in its confidence. He took the men on a tour of the tower itself, using his fake access pass to skip the lines and bring them straight to the 3rd floor, where they could look out over Paris like the deal was already done. While the men were captivated, Victor was quietly watching them. He wasn't looking for the richest man in the room. He was looking for the most insecure one. He found him in André Poisson, a young, provincial businessman who hadn't fully broken into Paris's elite business circles, and who seemed to carry something close to an inferiority complex about it. Victor zeroed in. He arranged a private, one-on-one meeting with Poisson. And this time, he didn't just play the official. He played the official with a secret. He told Poisson that his government salary barely covered the lifestyle he was expected to live, hinting, carefully, without saying it outright, that a little extra money on the side wouldn't hurt anyone. And that detail, the hint of corruption, is exactly what made the whole scam work. Poisson didn't see it as a red flag. He saw it as confirmation. Of course, a real government official would be a little corrupt. That's just how Paris worked. To Poisson, Victor wasn't lying. He was just being honest about the system.
A few weeks later, Poisson signed a contract. He would pay over 1 million francs, and the tower, and everything on it, would be his to dispose of however he liked. Then Victor played his final card. He asked Poisson for a bribe, to grease the wheels, as a lowly government employee trying to get by. Poisson didn't hesitate. He handed over $20,000 in cash on the spot, with another $50,000 promised if Victor made sure his bid won. In total, Victor walked away with roughly $70,000, an enormous sum at the time. Within the hour, Victor was already on his way back to Austria. Here's the part of the story that makes it almost too perfect. Victor waited, for weeks, expecting headlines, a police sketch, something. It never came, because André Poisson realized something far more painful than losing the money. If he went to the police, he'd have to admit, publicly, that he tried to bribe a government official to buy the Eiffel Tower, and got conned doing it. He was too humiliated to ever report it, and that's when Victor did something almost unbelievable. He went back to Paris. A month later, he tried to sell the Eiffel Tower again, to a brand new group of scrap dealers. His own associates thought he'd lost his mind. This time, it didn't work. One of the new marks got suspicious and alerted the police before the deal closed. Victor barely escaped, fleeing across the Atlantic to the United States, where, instead of slowing down, he kept going. He went on to run a fake money printing machine scam on a sheriff in Texas, build a vast counterfeiting operation that flooded America with fake bills, and evade capture for years. It finally caught up with him in 1935, when Secret Service agents arrested him in New York for the counterfeiting operation. He was sentenced to 20 years on Alcatraz. Even there, his legend grew. He once escaped briefly down a sheet rope before being recaptured. He died at Alcatraz in 1947, and his death attracted almost no attention. A quiet end for a man who had spent his entire life making sure all eyes were on him, right up until the moment he needed them to look away. André Poisson never got his money back. He never even told anyone what happened to him, until long after Victor was dead. Because the most dangerous lie isn't the one that sounds too good to be true. It's the one that makes you feel like you're finally in on the secret.